Good evening, viewers, and welcome back to Prime Live. It is a Wednesday night, which means we are celebrating creatives and artists. Now, our first guest tonight is an extraordinary individual with a rich and diverse background, born and bred in Middelburg, Mpumalanga, and now residing in Pretoria. Now, Dr. Lindy Maluleke has an impressive career spanning over 2 decades, and we're here tonight to talk about her new and fascinating book, a dark romance novel. Now, we are looking forward to talking more about the story, which revolves around a young, successful woman who meets and marries a young man only to be tragically murdered within the first 6 months of their marriage. This gripping tale delves into the complexities of customary marriages, the legality of antenuptial agreements, the importance of divorce after lobola has been paid, and the darker side of crimes within marriages. Good evening, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us on Prime Live tonight.
It's just a fluke.
For having me.
I mean, it's such a privilege for us to have this conversation with you and delve into your novel, which we have in front of us today.
Yes.
Can you tell us what inspired you to write this novel? Where did the inspiration from the novel come from?
Okay, firstly, I wanted to tell a story. And secondly, I wanted to acknowledge the customary marriage, of which I think some people are not aware of. And I also believe that for other people it's not easy to just take the act and just go through it. So I wanted to highlight the act, but in the most relaxed environment, because I understand other people learn quicker. It's either in a storytelling, either in a book, or maybe in a TV show. Hence, I decided that let me write a book and also involved these legalities of customary marriages.
I mean, just listening to, the brief description of the book, it sounds really, really interesting. And I can absolutely picture this book becoming, a soapy or a series on TV. I can actually picture it on a TV screen. And I can see that a lot of viewers at home would absolutely enjoy reading it and also seeing it on screen. So, fingers crossed, we are manifesting that this book, manifests into a TV show. And then we'll be able to say, oh, we got to meet you before it became big. Yeah. But now, you are also multi-talented and you have, over 2 decades of experience, also in human resources as well as mining as well. How has your background in these diverse fields been able to impact your story and your book as well?
Okay, my career started back 24 years ago when I started in the mining. So through my careers, I worked for the production department and then I later progressed to human resource. So in human resource, I was responsible for human development, which gave me also the opportunity to bring back in terms of the skills through what I've learned through the years that I spent in the mining industry. But how did it help me in terms of writing the book? Actually, it gave me the opportunity to build different characters and also be able to breathe in them and make them live, and also for the readers to relate, because those are type of environment that I've been myself, and that I'm able to create a character where I can relate in terms of understanding their emotions, understanding their fears, and understanding their goal or what they want to achieve in life.
No, yes. Absolutely. I mean, that's how we can determine a good book is, can we relate to the characters?
Yes.
Can we identify with the different emotions, the different experiences, and how they go through those different experiences? Because we can always be able to then relate them back to our own lives and our own personal experience. Yes. Now, I want to talk about your book, Done Dirty. Now, it goes under the genre of dark romance. And, it explores themes like love, marriage, as well as crime and murder. What made you choose this genre particularly for the book?
Okay, the book is actually the dark romance because there's murder involved, but it's about a young lady that meets this guy and she's happily in love, they get married, and then suddenly she's murdered. But it also wants to bring forward during the murder, the lies, the secret, the things that were not covered, things that were not said, the betrayal and all that. Hence, at the end, I decided that the murder will emphasize that there are betrayals in relationships. And sometimes there are red flags that we see throughout the courtship or the dating, but most people, we ignore those red flags. And in most cases, it doesn't end well.
I think that also can be very valuable for viewers at home, who are still finding the one and are not yet married.
Yes,
and in picking up those red flags that we often mistaken, and I think when you are in the falling in love phase, maybe you also have a tendency to make excuses for the red flags that you see, and you don't identify them as yet. And something as drastic and tragic as murder, is something that you might not have picked up on the red flags that might have led you to, seeing this person's dangerous behavior in the beginning or in the initial stages. So I think that's a very interesting topic. But something that you mentioned a little bit earlier, towards the beginning of our interview, was the importance of addressing and creating awareness about customary marriages. Now that is something that is, a theme that is explored in this book. Yes. Why do you think it's important, or why was it important to you to include that in your story?
Okay, before I go to the customary marriage, I just want to highlight the reason why people normally will ignore the red flags. Like we see with the main character in the book, she was engaged in the first 5 days of them dating, so that alone will make one to even ignore the red flags, because now you're looking at the end goal. Now you want to get to the marriage part. And then another thing, in terms of the customary marriage, so what I wanted to bring forward is the importance of preparing your estates before you get married, especially in our black community. As we all know that we have this part where we call it lobola negotiations, and most people, I don't think they understand that once that lobola has been negotiated, you're already married, and you are married in community of property. So I wanted to bring forth the legalities of customary marriage, and I've seen most people, they normally will negotiate the lobola, and once it's concluded, then they get married now the Western way. But now that's when they decide to sign the prenup or decide on the type of the marriage that they want to be in. But that might be a little bit too late, because things like the prenups and whatnot, those are the things that needs to be in place before you even negotiate and conclude the lobola. So that's one of the things that I wanted to bring and highlight to our community, because we don't want to learn when your spouse has passed on that you are married in community of property, or when you want to move on now and be married to another person.
No, I really, really commend you for, having these different themes in your book, because you want a reader to, yes, go on a journey and a story with the different characters. But from the sounds of our conversation, there's so much to learn from this book as well, as, regarding, reading the signs, being able to identify those red flags, to also being able to identify what kind of marriage contract are you getting into, what are your rights, what are the available options to you should you want to leave the marriage, or should your partner, inevitably pass before you.
Yes.
So it is important to be able to, understand these different concepts as a woman who is, getting into a marriage. And I think it's really interesting that you were able to explore these different themes and then use your opportunity for storytelling. And yes, it's an interesting story, but you're also learning from the character and, her journey as well. And speaking about the character, she's young, she's successful, and she's confident, but she ends up meeting a very tragic end. What do you hope, that readers can take away from her story and learn from her story?
Is that people will do anything to get what they want. And also to say, not everyone that asks you for a hand in marriage really want to spend the rest of their life with you. We've seen lately people, especially women, coming out and talking about how they were betrayed when somebody comes and say, I love you, I want to marry you, but it just turned out to be a different story. So what I want to say is that to young women out there, you are complete even if you are not married. Because when we see with the character, she had everything. She had a business, she was successful, she had everything. But she felt incomplete because she was not married. And even the parents, they normally pushed it, especially in our community. You can have everything. You can be educated, you can have your cars, your houses and everything. But they will keep on asking, when are you getting married? So it's like this marriage, it's a thing that completes us. So in a way that you feel like, okay, I have everything, I just need one, just want that thing. So when the person comes and promises to marry you, you quickly agree. Hence, we end up ignoring the red flags, because now you feel like that one thing that I wanted my whole life, that is going to complete me, it's finally here.
I'm really glad that you highlighted that, because I think in various different brown communities, we all struggle with the very same thing.
Yes.
Once you finish university and you've started working, you have, you know, the aunties in the family are asking you, oh, when are you getting married? When are you getting married? And there's this overlying head of pressure that is
Yes.
on you to complete that next step. And I completely understand what you're saying. As soon as somebody comes around showing interest in wanting to marry you, you kind of jump to the idea because you are sitting with this pressure that is on your shoulders. Instead of trusting God's timing
Yes.
in finding the right person, you are pressured by family expectations to do something you might not be ready for, or
Yes,
this might
yes.
not necessarily even be the right person for you. And I think, you know, women who are living, you know, in this very modern era where we have access to all these different opportunities, we can have careers, we can do all these things. Even though we do have access to all of this, there is, you know, that very heavy underlying pressure that is weighed upon you to make that next step. And even next step and get married, it's, oh, when are you having a baby?
Yes,
And I think
yes,
the most
that's
important thing that women need to learn in our societies today is that you should stick to your own timelines and not have anybody rush you into doing something you're not ready for. Now, a question we are getting from a lot of our viewers at home is, where can they get a copy of the book?
Okay, the book is available on Take a Lot. It's also available on Amazon. Yeah, both the hard copies and the soft copies.
Now, we have got Done Dirty. Are there any writing projects for you coming up in the future that we can look forward to?
Okay, actually, when I was writing Done Dirty, I came up with 3 extra books. Yeah. So after Done Dirty was written back in 2023, and then it was published this year in February, and also launched in February. So after launching the Done Dirty, then I launched 2 more books, which is, one is the Morning of the Wedding Day, and the other one is the Good Dates. But all these 3 books are a sequel, so they all relate to the same character. So here we see the main character now being grown up, getting married and whatnot, and all the wrong decision that she took in life. But now there's a book before this one, which is The Morning of the Wedding Day. Now it highlights where is she coming from. Yeah, what happened in her past. Because most of the things that happen to us or happen in our past, normally they will influence the decision that we take going forward. So the first book before this one is also published. It's a 3-series book. Yes.
Okay, so we can also get our copies of those on Take a Lot and Amazon as well.
Exactly.
I love that we have, you know, the trilogy to look forward to. Is that, yes, we see her mistakes, but we also get to follow along the journey, the before, the middle, and the after. But we thank you so much, Dr. Lindy, for joining us this evening. I mean, this was a very interesting conversation and really insightful into, you know, the journey of the main character, and also your effort in really highlighting key issues that women should be, you know, conscious of, and, you know, not rushing into marriage just because we think there's this underlying pressure, looking out for those red flags, and, you know, being content. I think that's what I've learned so much from our conversation today, is being content with where you are.
Yes.
And looking forward and looking ahead, but not rushing to get there. But thank you so much, Dr. Lindy, for joining us and for sharing your book with us this evening.
My pleasure.
Viewers at home, that was Dr. Lindy, and we were talking about her latest edition, Done Dirty. Now, it is part of a trilogy, and if you would like to go on this amazing journey of the main character, I mean, just from our conversation today, there are so many incredible themes to learn from, and to learn from the character's journey and to learn from her experiences as well. And if you would like to get a copy, please do head over to Amazon and Take a Lot. You'll definitely be able to get yourselves a copy of the entire trilogy.